Alright, what's going on, guys? So this is going to be a pretty different video today, and to be honest with you, I was debating of whether I was even going to make this video or not, and it's something I've been thinking a lot about the past couple of weeks. I wanted to talk a lot about gaming NFTs, and more specifically as well, play-to-earn gaming, which are both let's say, sort of worrying trends in the gaming community, and we're going to explore a lot of this today. At this point, you're probably at least peripherally aware of what NFTs are, and you may have heard of these play-to-earn gaming things that have been coming out and how it relates to the metaverse, and we're going to get into all this stuff in just a second. Now, I do want to get my biases out of the way first. Number one, I'm somebody who absolutely loves video games and always has. I'm somebody who basically my entire career revolves around gaming and content creation in and of itself, and also somebody who's not particularly against crypto as a concept. It can be used maliciously, of course, but it doesn't have to be the central tendency of that. And, I do believe it has some use case in our, upcoming modern world. But that being said, there's something really strange going on right now with NFTs, as it were, and also play-to-earn gaming. And I spent the past few weeks talking to people all over the spectrum of this, we'll say, like people that are extremely into it and basically evangelists for it, and also the complete opposite end of that spectrum of people who kind of just don't like change in technology in general. So I've gotten a wide variety of opinions about this kind of stuff, and I realize currently most gamers aren't particularly concerned with like blockchain technology or anything like that, but you sort of at least need to be aware of it because it's coming into the gaming sphere a lot more rapidly than you probably expected. So before we can start taking apart the nuances of this entire situation, we first need to get our definition straight first. And something I noticed when conversating with people about this topic is there's a lot of terminology that is, I'm going to call it overly complicated to make this entire atmosphere seem a bit more higher barrier to entry than it really is. And not only that, but it's hard to actually level at this topic because any sort of criticism that you put towards this sort of thing is usually met with people that are like, oh, you just don't understand it, which if you want somebody to be on board with what you're doing is probably the worst thing you could say to them. But at the same time, I like to try and give people the benefit of the doubt, and when there's something I don't completely entirely understand, I want to explore more about it. I want to know, okay, what it is that's really going on here, and I want to learn more. So I tried to go into this as open-minded as physically possible, and I'm sure a lot of you guys probably fall in the same category. You're like, okay, I don't really get this stuff, but there must be something I'm missing here. So that said, I'm going to try to use the most like basic terminology possible when discussing things so to not overcomplicate anything that is unnecessary. So what exactly is an NFT? You may have heard the term NFT or non-fungible token. This is basically a representation of digital ownership. In theory, it's just a permanent entry on the blockchain that indicates you actually own something, and in most cases right now, it's just a small amount of code that can either link you to something like an image or JPEG or something like that, but it has its use cases outside of that stuff. Like a lot of people think that you could have your, house deed or like your car title on blockchain technology, and I think those are actual real use cases to some extent, but I'm not going to get into what NFTs are going to be outside of gaming. I want to keep the discussion pretty focused. And after talking with a number of people about this stuff that are very into NFTs, I was pretty much met with the same few responses again and again with any kind of criticism. Usually you'll hear lines of something along the lines of, oh, you don't actually want to own the items you have in game, or instead of giving money to greedy publishers, you're actually in control of your money and your assets in game. Or another one you'll probably hear is something like, oh, it's about supporting the artist, or you get access to communities and events, and it's about the technology. And on surface level, like I said, it's hard to kind of just take these apart, or you really look like you're in the wrong if you immediately try to refute any of these points, and that's what makes it so difficult to criticize. But I'm not going to take apart all of these statements, even though they all have their weak points and their flaws. What I'm going to talk about mostly is how it relates to gaming, and one of the quotes that I heard a lot with that kind of stuff is like, oh, don't you want to actually own your in-game items? And, instead of just spending countless dollars on Call of Duty, let's say, or on Halo and giving money to the greedy publishers, you're actually in control of your in-game assets. And that's like unbelievably like sinister. I can't even fathom it. Again, the actual concept of digital ownership aside, I actually think like digital ownership in and of itself has real use cases, and the technology for that is actually actually fairly interesting. But when it comes to using this as like a scapegoat in some sense for gaming and how people or just players in general are going to be somehow in control of all of their in-game items from here on out, and they're going to be able to profit and make money off the things they own in game, and there's going to be this economy that spans across the blockchain and across games. Not only is it wrong, it's utopian and it's straight up misleading. And you can know that to be the case already, where game developers and publishers that are getting into NFTs more recently and plan to implement them in in-game projects, if it were really about putting the money in the hands of the players, why would the publishers ever invest $1 into that kind of technology? The contradiction is so obvious when you think about it. It's like, why would publishers who ideally want to make money, and again, there's nothing wrong with publishers attempting to make money with their game, you know, in terms of entertainment and their art form, whatever it is, people are going to spend money on it, and a lot of that money is in the players' minds the cost of consuming entertainment, which has no inherent problems, right? That's, people will spend money to go see movies, and it's not like they're expecting a return on investment with that, or people will spend money and time playing video games for a little bit, and that's not necessarily something they have to see a return on investment on. The immediate pushback to that would be like, well, don't you want to earn money for the time you spend in games, or wouldn't you want to actually be able to trade your in-game items for real money? And that's the thing, is like, you can kind of already do that in a sense. We're going to get to pay or play to earn in just a minute, but the in-game economies already exist. People already trade skins in games like Counter-Strike, and PUBG has, you know, skins that you can actually trade for real money. Roblox does a similar thing, I believe, without the necessary need for blockchain technology. And I'm just going to say it, a lot of the people I spoke to about this who are very like pro NFTs in gaming, in my opinion, aren't necessarily interested in video games themselves, but using them as a vehicle to basically transfer wealth. And I think this is why most gamers, whether they know how to articulate or not, this is their main problem with this whole NFT in gaming pushback, is it's because you have a lot of these people coming out that, you know, maybe may not have even the most interest in gaming in and of itself, but they're coming out and saying, oh, you have now the ability to make money off either the time or items you own in game, as if for some reason they have your financial best interest in mind. It's like, no, that's the part that feels slimy, it's corny, and it honestly makes NFT technology in general look bad. It makes crypto look bad, and I think it's probably the worst part about this whole situation. But that's just NFTs in general. I'm gonna get to play to earn here in just a second. That's where I think it's really sinister. But before we get into that entire disgusting mess, it's just like, this is, NFTs in gaming are the next example of how people want to monetize quite literally every aspect of your life. And this is just a minor point aside from the technology elements of NFTs and how they relate to gaming, but I think for a lot of people, video games are an escape from reality, even in some momentary sense. People who work literally all day usually find video games as a form of escape from reality, even if it's very finite. And when you take video games and make it part of your investment portfolio, let's say, and you bear the responsibility now of like having some of your finances tied into what you have in game, it takes away the carefree elements of video games and makes them feel like work as well to an extent. And I know this because this is somebody who is a full-time YouTuber. I love video games, and I always have, and I always will, most likely, but I will admit sometimes there are moments in my career in which video games sometimes feel like a chore, and it's not a good feeling. Like, I recommend to people, if you want to always like video games, don't be a content creator in some real way. But that's the thing, is it starts to blur the lines a little bit between work and play, and that can be a dangerous game if you really want to make video games like a hobby or if it's something that you love. So that presents a number of problems for NFTs in gaming, but again, digital ownership in general isn't necessarily a bad technology, and I think there are some actual cases in which it could be a positive thing. That being said, I think where it really gets sinister is the play to earn epidemic that you may have seen. If you have no idea what play to earn is, I'm gonna try to like sort of put it in the most easy to understand terms possible because it's kind of nebulous. It's really weird. But yeah, to briefly summarize it, people that tell you that gaming NFTs are, oh, it's about supporting the artist, or it's about the technology, it's about taking money away from greedy publishers. These are lies. This is wrong, and it's literally just a smokescreen to hide true intent. That being said, I think there are individuals that actually believe in the beneficial technology of this stuff. They don't really have malicious intent in mind, or they're not out just to make money very rapidly and quickly, and honestly sort of dishonest as well, but they believe it can be healthily integrated somehow into video games. And so you really have to separate the people, you have to separate the good from the bad actors, I think, in a lot of ways. But a pretty common phrase you might hear NFT evangelists say, especially in regards to gaming, is like, you spend a lot of time playing video games anyway. Don't you just want to earn money for the time that you're spending to begin with? And again, it's one of those arguments that you can't take apart on a surface level, because then you just look wrong or you look dumb. But again, it's very intentionally misleading in terms of how the question is framed, so that if you try to answer it with any response, you look dumb. But there are cracks in the armor with this one. And again, digital ownership aside, as a concept, and even NFTs as a technology, as a concept aside, you could find ways to at least somewhat justify them in some, small capacity. But with play to earn gaming, I cannot come up with any reason whatsoever in which these are good, in which they're justifiable. They are just straight up malicious and misleading. So with that in mind, what exactly is a play to earn game? And this definition is going to be, it'll do for now. Play to earn games are a little complex as a concept, and that's partially by design, but it's this definition will be able to serve our functions. Essentially, play to earn games are a game that you grind and earn fungible items that you can then turn into non-fungible items and then sell them on the market. But again, there's a little more to it than that, but it will do for our discussion today. So it's like the concept of being able to play a game and earn money. It's like, okay, fair enough. What's wrong with that? And when I was first trying to research into these, I looked into play to earn games, and I'm not even going to talk about the relative quality of most play to earn games that exist. If you really want to know, I'll let you do your own research. But that aside, in order to even participate in these gaming environments, you first have to put a stake of some kind of currency down, maybe one of the in-game or tokens that they use. So usually this can cost you anywhere from like 100 to 200 real dollars. That has to be in place before you even start playing or earning money in the game. Let's say hypothetically you get to that point and you're earning these fungible items, turning them into non-fungible tokens, and you're putting them on the market and selling them for profit. Again, you could say in principle nothing inherently wrong with that at all, but one of the catches is the games are by design unfun to grind. And you might ask, well, why? This is the crux of why the entire system works as it does, because it takes advantage of people who have way too much time and are not playing video games necessarily because they even enjoy the game, but they're playing it for some kind of small paycheck. After these people basically play the game enough to generate these NFTs that people who have a little bit more money to spend would just straight up pay for instead of have to grind, that's what it rests on, because the people who actually have the money to spend on these in theory are just going to wait until those are generated, and they're not going to do the grinding themselves because it's not fun. I hope that made sense the way I explained it. Basically, it relies on people generating these NFTs that are worth more, that somebody who has more money and less time are going to pay for. And again, it rests on the idea that somebody else down the road, somebody else out there will pay more for it than you. So people who are preaching this stuff are pretty much asking you to play a game for, however many hours are required during a day to get a paycheck that, in all honesty, are pennies on the dollar compared to what your time is actually worth. You then earn enough items in game to generate an NFT that, in theory, somebody else is going to pay more money for. And again, it's not as simple as, oh, you already spent a lot of time playing video games, so you may as well get paid for them. That on paper, again, works. Like, there's really nothing wrong with that statement. But the problem is, it's not even like you're enjoying the time you spend in game. Unless for some weird reason you like these intentionally unfun games, you're able to convince yourself you actually like the video game and you're not doing it just for a paycheck. Play to earn gaming is quite literally the digital equivalent of Amway, even insofar as you have to put a stake of money down originally to even participate in the system to begin with. The description I know is accurate because people in my real personal life that got into Amway originally are the exact same people that approached me first about my thoughts on play to earn gaming. It was incredibly ironic. Again, the whole system is predicated on the fact that the games are intentionally unfun so that you don't actually want to play them to get these items, and you'd rather just buy them outright, and somebody in theory is going to pay more for it than you. Eventually, that system falls apart with enough time. Eventually, that bubble bursts. Perhaps I'm wrong, and if not, in pay to earn, I keep saying pay to earn when it's play to earn, which I don't know, maybe pay to earn is more apt, but basically, if play to earn titles and games are going to be around for the long haul, I can see play to earn becoming the new 9 to 5 job. I say that genuinely without any irony. In some weird future world where a lot of the 9 to 5 jobs that people currently experience are no longer needed, the new 9 to 5 will just manifest somewhere else, and it will be these play to earn games. And you know, for some people, if that's how you want to spend your life, I guess I can't argue with that. But because all of this play to earn gaming and NFT technology in general has come on so quickly, and from people that were honestly a lot of the time outside the gaming sphere and are now seemingly coming back in, it's been confusing to a lot of people because you don't know what their true intent is. And I'm basically just going to close with this. If you ever don't know what somebody's true intentions are or why they're doing something or behaving in a way, look at the outcome and then infer the motivation. That's pretty much all I have to say on the matter for now. This is just something I've been thinking about past couple weeks, and I really actually want to know what you guys think. Is this something that's reasonable? What are your thoughts on NFTs and play to earn in general? And I'm not somebody who's against advancement in technology or even crypto for that matter. I'm actually what you might call pro crypto, but this makes crypto look insanely bad. And I don't know. I do think that there needs to be some kind of transparency here. I know this is kind of a long video, but I wanted to explain everything I need to say. If you guys enjoyed, drop a like, subscribe if you're brand new, and I will see you all in the next one. Take it easy and peace out.